We've spent many years in the NUS talking about how you fund the institutions, and that was right. We've had attacks to education funding over a number of years now, and our role has always been to try and defend and mitigate the damage that successive governments have caused. But we haven't ever talked about how the student themselves are funded, and that's pivotal. That's what makes or breaks many students coming to university in the first place, or indeed dropping out. At the same time, we've seen the removal of the education maintenance allowance and a poor shadow of a system replaced it. There's going to be discretionary. It's going to be up to colleges whether they give college students the money they deserve or not. That's going to cause all sorts of problems, and there's a continuous debate now about whether you give fee waivers or bursaries in universities, with the government having removed a lot of money from student support. That means that we have to really redefine our role in what we fight for students. For the next year, we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on how do we get more money in students' pockets, not just how do we protect education funding itself. In terms of policy areas, people will see a difference from NUS. We'll be asking very different questions. And that's because we know that the poorest, the most vulnerable, are the most reliant on what support they get from the state in order to study while they're at college or university. So this is a really new and exciting area, and it's something that not any organisation has looked at for a very long time, and I think there's some substantial wins that we're going to be able to get off the back of it. One of the pieces of spin from the white paper that I find the most repugnant is the idea that consumerism is going to put the student at the heart of the system, as the title of the white paper was. It does nothing of the sort. I mean, the powers outlined in the white paper only come into play when a student actually decides to drop out or not to apply in the first place. And you need a critical mass of them to do that before the university has a financial imperative to change. That doesn't seem like power to me. I don't walk into a supermarket and suddenly feel that I'm empowered because I'm getting to buy a product. In fact, the only way I can change things is by complaining. And I don't think there's many, regardless of political ideology, who would say that complaining is more powerful than partnership. And so I think that it's a wrong direction to try and push students to see themselves as customers, because I don't think it wins for them as a student, but also I think we're pumping out graduates with the wrong attitude towards society and part of the basis of why we put people through state-funded education. So for that reason, I think that the government is sorely mistaken in trying to take us down this consumerist route. And that's the fact that before you even open a prospectus, you're going to have £27,000 of debt hanging over your head. Now, that can be upfront, deferred, however you like it. That doesn't mean that it's fair, and I think it will be the poorest that are put off by that system, and we should never stop talking about that. At the same time, I don't want to see a single person put off from going to university that has the ability, and so making sure we have clear information and people understand the realities of the system is going to be incredibly important, and something that we'll be taking an active role in as well. There's been a very upfront push for private providers to come into the sector. And that's private for-profit. I've never seen a government suggest that for-profit has a place within the education sector, and that really does scare me. I think we'll continue to see the government try and portray students as customers, and they'll get what they pay for, and if you can't afford it, well, you don't get it. Part of the white paper's idea that A-B students will be the only ones that have stability within the sector, and everyone else will be literally auctioned off to the lowest bidder. I think that's horrific. And I don't see how that's sustainable in the long term if you want to keep a high quality education system accessible to all. I still think there's plenty of opportunity for Liberal Democrats to reassert the principles that they espoused before the election and start to mitigate some of the damage being done. And I think it's a real shame that Vince Cable hasn't done that through the white paper, but there are plenty of other Liberal Democrats out there that I know will want to do that, and I really do call on them to do that. And I also think that very quickly Labour are going to have to come to a stance where they're saying if they don't have it now, that's fine, but they will come up with an alternative, and they'll be honest and keep to that alternative come the next election. And again, there's plenty of other people in the political spectrum that could be helping us out with that, and I think that's what we need to do now rather than later.